Can you
Okay,
see me okay?
I got you. I got you. I'm here with the second podcast of the High Times podcast here for the Psychedelic podcast. I've said podcast a lot. I don't do this much anymore. And my man, my friend, good dude, Anthony Carelli, Santino Marella. Hey, buddy.
Yeah, this is your second one?
Yeah, dude.
Hey, in my family, I'm the second born. It's perfect.
You're looking ripped, man. You're still, how old are you now? You're ripped.
46 years old. But, during this pandemic stuff, we've been bike riding every day, my wife and I, for like hours with the baby on the back. We go long walks, and we have a home gym. So we're making it like a training camp, you know?
Yeah, you're going on. I mean, that's what you do though. You've always been you've always taken care of your body, right? You treat your body as a temple.
I've always been, athlete, sports entertainer. So it's always something you had to do.
Yeah, and that's a good point. For those of you who, for some reason, don't know the alias of Santino Marella here, the one and only. I mean, this is the Milan Miracle. This is the guy.
One and only.
Sorry.
The one and only.
Dude, wrestler, WWE. When you were there, was it, I forget, was it the WWF?
It was WWE.
It was the WWE. Okay.
Yeah.
It was the WWE. And how long were you, how long did you wrestle with, you're not that old. How long did you wrestle with them for?
10 years.
10 years.
Nice clean 10 years.
Man, how crazy was that? A decade in the WWE. I mean, was that always your aspirations?
I don't know. Somewhere in university, when I kind of met somebody that had a school, I was like, well, of course it's a dream, but it's, as a child, it seems unattainable. And all of a sudden, you find out there's a way in. There's a place you can go and learn this. And then from that point, it's okay. If this can actually be a legitimate living, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is fun as shit.
Yeah, and then when you get there, like, how does it work? Like, you hear other sports, like there's like rookie hazing, and do they bust the balls of the the new crew coming to town?
They tried, but they liked me too much, so they couldn't. No, not really, not really. Everyone was really cool, and I got a smart ass mouth anyway, so they like me.
But you're like, I mean, you're kind of a little guy for wrestling, right? Like,
yeah,
do they chirp you for that? Do they take the piss out of you for? No.
My nickname was Medium Husky because I'm like 5'10" is like the average height of like man. When I was fighting in judo, I was a middleweight. Like there's 3 divisions below me, 3 above me. So anyway, I'm the medium guy. But no, I was one of the smaller guys. There's big guys in there, man. And even guys that aren't monsters, like 6'8", they're still like 6'2", 6'3", jacked,
Huge. Yeah, insane.
Yeah, big guys.
And listen, we're going to talk about psychedelics in a moment because it is the psychedelic podcast. But I just want to try to get in the brain of when you were doing wrestling there at the peak of it all. And Anthony, when you're doing that and you get into that to the WWE, which is the prime, it's the primo, it's the end all and be all of wrestling. You've made it. How quickly did you realize that you were dealing with some really interesting characters? I mean, like,
yeah. So there's interesting characters in every level of wrestling. There was guys at OVW in my class that are absolute characters. Every wrestling school has like the same guys, but just in different languages or whatever. You know what I mean? Different accents. They got the guy who's all on the gas. They got the fat guy that's coordinated but just can't have the discipline to lose the weight. And one guy, he's gonna have all this potential to meet a girl and fuck it up. And there's some always goth people and like all types, man. Like what's that store in this Hot Topic? Like Jeff Hardy, that style.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I guess just to dive right into it, when you're meeting all these new individuals and some are becoming your friends and some, I don't know if you have relationships with, you're the nice guy. So I feel like everyone does like that. But I mean, with wrestling, unfortunately, maybe fortunately, but it's synonymous with, sort of abusing yourself a little bit, abusing your body, going to the extreme. We've heard of, sad stories, obviously, where wrestlers have died too young, but Is there, just, for the sake of positive, like in a positive light, was there a lot of just unreal times with like a lot of different drugs and a lot of different booze and did you guys get, and
Well,
ladies, did you
the thing
get
is,
into it?
they introduced the wellness policy, um, while I was there, right? So you
Oh,
really couldn't have anything in your system, and they did. It was really strict. They actually did like random testing once a month. And one of the days you're doing TV, there's going to be a drug test there, and can't gamble with it. If it's something like cocaine, that's a month off suspension. It's public. Like the people know that you failed the wellness policy and stuff. So it's not really worth it, man. But before the wellness policy, yeah, it was the Wild West, absolutely. And before cell phones and before the internet, those guys had it even better. Guys that were pro wrestlers in the 90s and 80s, like before this nonsense.
yeah, I can. Okay, it's funny, and I'm gonna pull. I found these in my where luckily I have this country home here, and I just before we hopped on here, I found like here I'm gonna like a doll, Big John Stud. What
Oh, nice.
you ever meet this guy?
Him I only saw as a kid at Maple Leaf Gardens, him versus Hulk Hogan. And yeah, I never met him, no.
So do you think someone like Big John Stud would have been into at that time before the wellness policy, like into some of the hardcore stuff?
That generation, yeah, like they like for example, remember when the Iron Sheik and Hacksaw Jim Duggan, they got arrested, they had blow on them, and they were supposed to be feuding at the time, and they got caught together in the same car. They got punished, by Vince and stuff. It's there's people like the Freebirds were known like just crazy partiers.
Well, like for instance, the next one I'm about to hold up, I feel like he must have tried some psychedelics in his day. Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Oh yeah, he's the man, buddy.
Yeah, is he the man? Was he the man?
But you know how nice he is. Every time he talks to me, and he'll stop and turn around and get in your face and just tell you some beautiful shit like, I've been watching what you're doing and you're doing something fantastic and you got it. And just really in your face, like super sincere every single time. Never, ever, ever did I have anything less than a stellar experience with him. He's awesome, man.
I'm just gonna. What would George the Animal Steel have been messed up on some shrooms or LSD or something?
He was actually a phys ed teacher.
Come on.
Yeah, phys ed teacher.
And who's hairier, you or him?
He is.
He was there. Okay, he was there. Okay.
I'm getting there though.
How great was the Junkyard Dog?
Yeah, very good, very good. He was good friends with one of my coaches, Rip Rogers, but I never met him. He passed before I was.
Did he
there.
pass young? I don't think I realized that. The Junkyard.
Yeah, younger. Heart attack.
Man, I mean, I could do this all day long. I'll do one more.
These are you have these at home?
They're just at my house, and I thought I'm talking to a former WWE wrestler here, like Andre the Giant. Look at this. Did you ever meet Andre?
Andre, no, he passed way before my time. But my daughter had that same doll, and she used to snuggle with it when she was a baby.
These were like, I remember waiting outside of Toys R Us when I was a little kid, like trying to get these wrestling
dolls.
Those
are weapons, man. Those are, you can grab with the arm and beat someone with one of those. They're heavy.
You can really, they were like authentically made, they made them, like, they even prorated the heights and everything. So I mean, just for the sake of kind of getting into this conversation here, because your career is amazing, from being a wrestler to being a judo champ to running a judo school and this great wellness school and teaching adults to children. And but we're at an age now and you've always been actually like this, to be honest. We're more comfortable in being candid with how we talk and our experiences in life and everything. And it's sort of like kind of, well, you got nothing to lose, and why not share these great experiences? And psychedelics is very new to my life. It's only a couple of years in, and I got tripped out a few times. I've mentioned before, like maybe in college days type of thing. But really exploring, studying, wanting to help myself, and everyone I talk to, and we're around the same age. I'm 47 in a few weeks. I feel like we're at this age right now where we really just want to drop all our ego, drop all the BS, and just kind of be in touch, be happy, be real. And that's what psychedelics anecdotally does for me. Like, have you experienced, have you been doing more mushrooms or more, or, you know, more psilocybin?
Only mushrooms.
Only mushrooms.
I never did LSD or anything like that, but mushrooms, of course, you start in university, and it's like that movie Limitless. You know, you access another part of your brain, and you're like, "What the hell was that? That was amazing! I was flying. I was calculating numbers at record speeds and all this nonsense." And the lights are enhanced, and you have this incredible. It's like a journey and an adventure, and then, you know, that's how it starts. And then you can control it a little better, and it, you know. It's incredible. I know that the mental, physical benefits of taking mushrooms are incredible. I always wanted to take, well, I never did it, take mushrooms and go hit the bag, like kicking, punching, because I know you're faster. I know you're just faster.
Isn't that interesting? So you, Anthony, you would take some shrooms once in a while, and like you would still go and do your workout and like really see the bag and the punch. And
oh no, I've never done that.
Oh, you never done? Okay.
So I always wanted to do that.
You always want? Okay, okay. Can you recall some of your first early experiences
of mushrooms?
Yes.
Oh yeah. And in Montreal, went to University of Montreal, and I remember the one time I was taking a red-eye bus from Montreal to Toronto, and it was at noon, right? Midnight, a red-eye, and it was 6 p.m. and we ate some shrooms, so I had 6 hours to walk like 7 blocks or something. You know, it wasn't bad. And sure enough, as the bus was pulling away in 6 hours, I was running up to it, hey! And I remember looking out the window of the bus ride, but looking out the window, not looking at what I'm doing. I'm writing. As I'm writing, I was writing everything about the relationship between matter and antimatter, and how if you freeze the energy, you know, like this is my thing. So if you had a sparkler, you know how you can make a circle and you can kind of see the circle? So
totally.
if you were fast enough to do it all around you, and you made a sphere of light around you.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you were able to telescopically extend that rod, extend it to like a kilometer, and you were fast enough still, that you would see a 2 kilometer wide sphere of light.
Wow.
Yeah. So now, but if you freeze it, and it's just one guy in a sparkler taking up 2 kilometers. So that's kind of was like, you know, the relationship between the actual mass of our electrons and neutrons. The actual mass is minuscule. If you freeze the energy, it's like a pinhead. You know what I mean?
Yes. And did you derive any, like,
condense all the molecules? There's only volume because of movement.
Okay.
And so the next day, yeah. So I take the bus ride home. I get to Toronto. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And I'm reading the notes, and they're all making sense. I'm like, oh, it's legit. It's not some code I have to break the next day or something. It made sense.
And did you do anything with this hypothesis? Did you?
Oh, it's probably one that's already proven or something.
Okay.
I probably heard it somewhere.
I mean, so what's your background in university then?
Geography, and then teaching college.
Okay, good. Yeah. So yeah, not bad.
Yeah, geography. Yeah, I just liked it the least.
And then do you because I know you have an older daughter and a younger son, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. My daughter's 25 in a few weeks.
Incredible.
And my son is 1.5.
And have you ever been on mushrooms around your children at all?
I don't think so. Maybe a smidgen of shrooms around my daughter, but not. My wife is not very. She would not be pleased.
I mean, do you microdose though? Do you sort of do it on smaller scale now at this point, or is it sort of a thing of the past for you?
No, I don't. But when I start training, because I had those stem cell injections in my back and my neck, and it's starting to get a little bit better. So if I'm able to train again, like hit pretty hard and grapple pretty hard, I want to try microdosing and doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Tell me about the surgery you did, the stem cell surgery.
Oh yeah, I went to Colombia, Medellin, Colombia, and they injected stem cells in my. I had herniated discs in my neck and my lower back and hitting nerves. I had neck surgery, right? That's why I had to retire. And they said it would take 3 to 6 months to start feeling the effects, the benefits, because your disc is going to start, I guess, regrowing a little bit. And once it reaches that critical mass where it's no longer just touching the nerve, you'll have the pain relief. So it takes a little bit of time. And 3.5 months went by. I'm like, shit, man, I can bend over and tie my shoes and there's no pain at all. And before there was like a part where a section of my back where I would kind of collapse through that section. There was obviously some impingement there or something. But yeah, it's getting better. So I would consider microdosing while doing some jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, for me personally, I would say that microdosing, again, anecdotal, evidence, what I'm saying here, just personal experiences, it's honestly the best. And I don't necessarily follow a protocol. I've done it just to do at times, and it really is everything that you hear all these studies talk about. And I think that, like, I always wonder about the high caliber athlete who might be able to do it, to kind of get in touch. Like, if you're creative, you get in touch with your creativity a little more.
I'll tell you a good use. Now in the WWE, when there was two TV shows and there was one brand, I was on the road 5 days every week and then travel time. So I was only home for like a day and a half a week. And you have to do everything, jam, tan, laundry, whatever, take your daughter to dinner, and you leave the next day again. So you're exhausted, you're worn out. You can't recover from 5 days of straight travel and wrestling and working out in a day and a half. You need a vacation. So the kind of mental break that you would get from a week in the Dominican, you can get on a 6-hour fucking vacation in your brain, man. You disconnect, you go, you allow yourself to buzz out to whatever the lights downtown or the stars up in the forest. And it's like a reset button, man. Anxiety is gone the next day. You seem to have a little better grasp on what the next few steps you should be doing are. And you've sorted out everything. Sometimes you just sort out shit. You just catalog, you go through, you rerun everything, all the plans that you have, you just have to go through them. And then after you go through them thoroughly, you're like, okay, I don't have to fucking stress about stuff for a while. Everything's okay.
Yeah, again, I can't wait I got to be careful how I talk about this stuff now, because I'm involved.
There's still a stigma around it,
Yeah,
that's why.
Also, because it's weird though, because like Radio Todd would have gone way deeper into these things, but publicly traded CEO Todd's got to make sure that you don't make any medical claims on this stuff. And I think anecdotally, like everything you're saying in every study I've ever seen, and experience is exactly that. And it's so beautiful to be able to have that break. Like, what kind of, when you're doing this wrestling for 10 years and you're trying to raise a daughter and you're trying to make money and trying to grow your fame a little bit, and I think I know you well enough to know, like, your fame wasn't to be famous, it was just to get a better paycheck, I think, you're salt of the earth at the end of the day. But when you're doing that, like, can you sorry, I was cutting out there a sec, but can you describe like that type of pressure? Is like, have you ever talked to, like have you been to therapy for it? Like, was that a tough thing?
You know what? Do you remember there was that, Doc Gooden, and he pitched a no-hitter on acid? You ever see that video? It's hilarious. He tells the story. It's amazing. Anyway, one thing he said there, he goes, once he made it to the major leagues, he thought, damn, I got to stay here. I got to do whatever it takes to stay here. This is where it's fucking at. You got to stay here. That's, you're asking about the pressure. Yeah. So as soon as I got there, yeah, it's high pressure, but you gotta tough it out, man. It's a privilege and an honor, and it's going to be over before you know it. So enjoy every second, bust your ass. You'll sleep when you're dead, man.
And was that the mentality of most male and female wrestlers, like that
There's
they're
no
there?
choice.
Sorry?
There's no choice. There's no choice. It's really survival of the people that make it to WWE. They're also the best wrestlers, but they're also the guys that can take it. There's guys that can't handle the road. They just no way. They'll lose their shit.
And you know, I'm trying to say this carefully, but is that why maybe some would turn to addiction and try to cope, and you would hear the sort of stories, and you know, I
Yeah,
think there's a stigma with wrestlers too. I'm just being honest, you know, especially in the day.
yeah. But it was also, it was a socially cultural thing there. A lot of guys would do pain pills back in the day, and that's done. That's one of the reasons the wellness policy was there, to really eliminate that stuff. And there's no more deaths in our generation, knock on wood, you know. People are off that stuff. Um, yeah, the answer, I can't remember the full question.
Yeah, just about addiction and stuff, and maybe some of the
Oh
pressures
yeah,
that
yeah,
lead to
yeah.
that.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
Are you high right now? Are you high right now?
just for marijuana.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just that legal drug in Canada where we're from,
Yeah,
you know.
I had 3 glasses of wine, but instead of having 3 glasses of wine, I smoked a joint.
Good. I'm on my second or third for sure. Anthony,
There are some guys that do had pain issues, and they did take pain pills because they needed to perform, and then they get addicted to it, or they just take it because they say, I got to have this match. I'll be in pain tomorrow. Give me 3 perks, and they get through it. That happens. But also, there's a group of guys that just like the feeling. They like to get high. You know, we have to be
yeah.
honest too.
Fair enough. Was there? I mean, you said it earlier, like you're a likable guy and people liked you, but was there in wrestling? Is there a lot of like, because with survival of the fittest, I would imagine, you know, you create competition, and sometimes that competition is not just friendly competition. It's like, no, I need to stay here, and I don't care if you do. Like, is there a lot
Yeah.
of is there a lot of like kind of in-house fighting within the league?
One of the skills that you have to be a successful professional wrestler is how to work well with others, because it's a business. You're putting together matches with people. You're just constantly um, working together. You have to. So guys that are there, they're pretty good at it.
Yeah,
They're pretty good. They have good personalities.
meaning most people just realize that, like, you know, elevate one another, and that's sort of the
Yeah.
key to success.
And you're taught that, right? Your job, make the other guy look like $1,000,000. He'll do the same. Work together. Don't be greedy, because you can be greedy. If you and I are going to fight in a match coming up, you know, a gimmick, we're going to have a fight, and you want to beat me up for, you know, 75% of the match, I'm going to say, well, that doesn't really make sense. You know what I mean? You have to negotiate that kind of stuff. And so you have to check your ego. And one of my coaches told me right away, he goes, take your judo competition bullshit, check it at the door. This is phony goddamn wrestling. No egos here. If I say you get knocked out with a golden feather, then you're getting knocked out with a golden feather. And that's, you know, whoever pays the bills, you just shut up and do what they want. And so I listened to that, you know.
I love that. I mean, and not to always do like kind of cheesy radio segue stuff here, but the no ego thing, that's exactly what psychedelics and you know, at least psilocybin it stands for. It's really about
Yes.
no ego. It's about connecting, and it's about enjoying each other's company, and yes, like helping each other shine. It doesn't matter if you're the center of the moment at that point or someone else is. You just want to be able to communicate well, deliver well, and at the end of it all have a good time. And I guess it's kind of neat that wrestling's mentality is that.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone there is super happy that they're getting to, because everyone there accomplished the goal. Everyone there's a winner. They achieved the impossible. They work for the WWE. So everyone's in a great mood. Like, they made it, right?
But with that being said, did anyone just fucking hate each other? Like, was there any? Did you ever hear relationships where people just, you know, fucking?
Yeah, there were guys that didn't get along, but I don't know. Not with me. I like everybody.
Yeah, you're not a drama. You don't like the drama.
No, I don't like the drama at all.
And then you know, were there Anthony, were there big sort of like, did you hear people doing psychedelics in the day? Did you hear of any when you were like, was it a thing that might have been prevalent or not really?
I mean, I know there's some guys that, you know, when they go home, they got, you know, we got 3 days. We're gonna take shrooms one night and go down, you know, skateboarding down Venice Beach or something like that. And then by Friday they're fine, right? You know, like some people would do that kind of stuff. And sometimes, yeah, that time at home, some guys like to go out because, so you have to work around the testing. If you know a particular drug's in your body for 72 hours, and some of the guys, they would, you know, party on Wednesday night, knowing that Saturday is going to be the test. So, yeah, it's funny. I've never disclosed this kind of stuff. Um, so you can work around it if you need to party, right? But
yeah, I assume there's ways to work around anything.
You're still taking a chance, but there's like probability. You know, this is probably going to get away with it.
You're what I like about you is you're a very candid individual, and while you're not necessarily involved in the sector, the psychedelic sector, and you dabble with it, but you're an entrepreneur. All the at the end of it all, you're a very realistic human being. And what do you think? And tell me candidly, what do you think about you know capitalism and the corporates coming into these spaces? And we saw it with cannabis, we're now seeing it with psychedelics. Are you in favor of that, and or do you think these they should blend with the advocates and the pioneers? Like what are Anthony Carelli's very outspoken and intelligent guys?
Yeah, I believe it will be legal. I believe it they got to, there's a lot of questions to answer, right? Obviously, there's medicinal applications that are legal right now. I believe terminally ill people and stuff like that, and that's always the beginning. There's benefits at every single level. You just have to make sure that you have something you can put out there that doesn't have anything negative. Some guy's not gonna freak out and harm himself. That's the only potential negative. It doesn't happen, but you heard stories about it happening. So a friend of a friend, went crazy and did something, right? So I don't know. Is that an urban legend or is that real? And I mean, is there any danger at all? That's what some people are going to ask us to explain. And then us, I mean, just people that agree with the use,
Yeah, and that's what
if they can prove that, they're good.
Listen, research and development is really everything, and I think we're starting to see that, and a lot more clinical trials going on in the United States and in Canada, and some stuff at Johns Hopkins, and stuff on the FDA level. And what I really think is interesting is, and you've seen it. I mean, you've seen it. You just mentioned you don't want to make sure that people get fucked up, but look at all the people who got fucked up on opioids, on benzos, on the
Alcohol.
on alcohol, and it's like, it's kind of, to me, it is always just insane, the stigmas and the perceptions of it all. Whereas
I guarantee you with my life that if mushrooms were legal, they would not destroy as many families as alcohol. For 1,000%. It's one of those things. Okay, if you're a family guy, obviously you can't. If you had to get together with your buddies once in a while at a cottage, once a month or something, and in a controlled environment, just to laugh your balls off, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Everyone has their kids, left them at home for one night to get together with your buddy's basement and just crack up and tell old stories. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I know in my goddamn heart there's nothing wrong with that. And it's like, no one can tell me otherwise. It's pure goodness happening down there.
Have you read any books on psychedelics and mushrooms, or any of the drugs?
I don't know if I'm able to focus. Oh, you mean read? I thought you meant read while you're on it.
Yeah, no.
No, I haven't actually, but I do take a supplement called Alpha Brain. Do you know Alpha Brain?
I've heard of Alpha Brain. Yes, I have.
It's from On It Nutrition. It gets shipped up from the U.S. and
isn't that the thing Joe Rogan promotes all the time?
Yeah, I use it when I'm on TV. I take it when I'm doing commentary. I take it and it makes your speech a little more smooth. You don't have to search for that word. You don't have to go. The words are always there, and it's a mushroom. It's a type of mushroom that is ground up, and there's this positive effect on your brain, and that's all the same family, right? Mushrooms, I believe, are one of the longest living fungus. Is one of the first things to ever live on this earth.
Yeah, you got to watch the movie The Fantastic Fungi, or even in Canada, David Suzuki has a special on mushrooms and what it can do, and the benefits of it, and the power of it, and the use of it for generations and generations. It's impenetrable. It's penetrable force, like through rocks and the fungi and how it connects. Like it's given to us, is what I like to say. Like it's just handed to us.
He liked some mushrooms once in a while.
Yeah, and another, you know, tragedy. Hey, man, geez, I meant to say, I'm
Not
so
that he
sorry.
passed away. He was the coolest dude ever, man.
He was a cool dude, and you know, he was a real dude, and that's why people gravitated to him, because he was imperfect, you know, in his sort of perfect ways. And to be honest, I'm just not a big TV watcher, so I didn't watch a ton of it, but of what he did. But I know that people just felt connected to people's imperfections, and you know, their drive as well. But you don't have to be a perfect human being to be successful, and I think that's what we're all trying to search for. It's like, how do we be us? But have some sort of moderate success and make a difference in the world without kind of compromising who we are. And you know, to me, that's what's very important. I'm so excited for the exploration and a lot of this now new studies coming out with psychedelics, and especially in my space, which I understand a little bit more, which is psilocybin, because that really allows people to be who they are, and understand who they are, and understand carefully who they are. And now that we're seeing these guys, would you ever go and do a like one of these guided therapy sessions?
Oh wow, I'd try that. I didn't know there was that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of retreats going on right now where you go and take
Uh,
like a hero dose of mushrooms or whatever the product is, generally psilocybin based. Some use ketamine, some use different types of drugs, DMT. But you know, I say for you know sake of the one I understand the most would be psilocybin. And then you have these like kind of guided therapy sessions where people help you get in
huh.
touch with you, make sure that you're calm and collective during it. It's sort of a new craze right now, actually.
That's interesting. I would totally do that. I've had some just incredible experiences. One year we were up north, we were camping, and it was in a tent, and there was like a windstorm. It was crazy windstorm, and like all the trees are shaking. Shit's getting thrown like flying away from our campsite. Crazy windstorm. We thought maybe trees were gonna break, but I was lying in my tent with the biggest smile on my face. I felt the electromagnetic waves from the sun traveling through my body. It was super experience, like just smiling and having this incredible journey that was just private to me, taking place in my mind. And it was what a treat, man. It was awesome.
It's really interesting you say that, because um, I don't know if I should do radio formatics now that I used to do, like Anthony Carelli, Santino Marella. You know, I don't know. Is that what I got to do? The Milan Miracle is hanging out with us. But I've been up at a you know, very fortunate in the country over the last 3 weeks because of COVID. And we're on a lake, and it's a bit of a swampy end of the lake, and we see, you know, beavers and turtles and,
Oh,
you know,
nice.
blue heron. It's a real very
I
like,
see your place on social media. I love it, man. It looks
oh,
great. You guys did a great job.
thank you. No, we feel so blessed. But what's really interesting is I look at my kid, my 4-year-old boy specifically. I've one who's a little bit too young to kind of appreciate it right now. And
His hair's getting long now,
he's
eh?
a legend, right? He's a little legend. He's going to be a
Yeah.
wrestler. But I watch him kind of interact with nature, and it makes
Oh
me
yeah.
think of the times that I've done shrooms with nature. Like, you see the innocence of the kids and the appreciating the beauty and hearing the wind, like you mentioned, and looking at a turtle's, you know, shell, and you know, looking at the patterns and the and it's like that their mind is open, and it's open, and it's bright, and it's thoughtful, and it's connected. And you know, us adults, we got so much distracting us, and stresses and pressures, and you know, whether it's financial worries, or I've gotten laid by my wife in a while, like all these little things. And then you look at the kids, and you go, man, they're living their life. And I was watching them actually just last couple days, and thinking, like, that's how I want to feel more. And the times I've done, and you know, I've done, and recently I was sort of microdosing truffles, which are the magic variety. I remember thinking, like, I feel like that's what my kid thinks like, you know. And to
Yeah.
me, that is I'm not trying to justify it here or try to end stigmas here or anything, because people can decide what they want to decide on their own. But it made me think, like, if only people could think of it in that light a little bit more, people would probably want it carefully, and legally, and try to explore again something that's given us, because you just sort of feel like a kid again, where you have no ego, and you're loving things, and things
You know
just
what
seem
it
more
is
creative
too?
to you.
When our generation, guys that are in their mid 40s right now, are in our 60s, it's going to be huge changes. Look, check out our generation. First of all, pot was legalized. We started getting tattoos, businessmen with neck tattoos, teachers with tattoos. Like we were, and then obviously there were someone that was gay when I was in high school. They wouldn't come out. And now kids are comfortable. Everyone's accepting. So we're very accepting of different things, and we accepted mushrooms. And I think people will also accept mushrooms. One, because it's a completely natural growing plant. There's no chemical, nothing involved at all. And it's been around ever and ever and ever and ever. And of course, people that know, you don't have to tell them. And then people that don't know, they're not going to listen anyway. Or maybe they will. I don't know.
No,
But I don't explain myself to anybody.
I think that's great how you say it. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be on the end now where you know, personally with a company and other companies in the space that have capital to prove this stuff out, hopefully, to be able to like concretely say by science and by testing and by research and by development, and then, you know, maybe even standardization at some point where it can help. And I think unfortunately you need capital for this kind of stuff to make it happen. But I maybe I don't know where I'm going here with it, but you're like, it's crazy because you mentioned alcohol earlier, and as I slur my words a little bit, but I like to have a couple glass of wine every night, and I also know that the nights at this time, like if you know, if I go have a brouhaha with one of my neighbors here up north, and you know, I sneak out a little bit, walk over, come back home, and if I go hard, man, I'm messed up now, dude. I don't know how you are, like on a good drinking night. I'm messed up for a day and a half. Like, you don't drink at all?
Oh, I haven't drank since maybe last summer. I had a few beers in the summer, but no, I don't drink.
And what's the reason for that?
I know how there's a lot of reasons, I guess, but I just don't enjoy it. It makes me tired. If I get drunk, there's you know, I've had some demons in the past, and I'm not a good drunk. Like, I'll act like a kid and do something stupid. So I used to fight when I was drunk. Alcohol, man, it's the worst. Alcohol is the gateway.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
listen,
pot at all.
no, and truth be told, like I consider myself, I don't know if it's a weird statement, but a good drinker, because I sort of get, because I'm so anxious all the time, so it kind of helps me a little bit, you know, like it actually helps me focus, but I don't think I'm a good drinker, meaning that I would want to get super messed up all the time, because I just know how bad it is for you, and I know how bad I feel, and I know, you know, you speak of bad backs earlier, how tight my back gets, and I can tell blood flows slow and dehydration.
You drink beer every day, you're chronically dehydrated.
Yes. Yeah, that stuff just crushes you, and you know, and then you know, those. I just hope that this world will learn more. I mean, the world, the way they look at alcohol one day. And I used to say this about cannabis, but now I really am saying it about psilocybin specifically, because that's the one I understand. We'll explore this and be able to, you know, push as hard as we can with these decriminalization, legalization movements. Because if you start to compare it to alcohol, it's not that I want to say it's not. It's not like
how about cigarettes? Even cigarettes.
Oh, cigarettes, dude. Jesus.
You know what I mean? If you trust me, if cigarettes are legal, mushrooms should have been legal a long time ago. These are known cancer-causing agents who are selling to people by the thousands and thousands and thousands. It's insane that somebody doesn't put a stop to this.
Right, and the addictive qualities alone, which they say don't really happen in some of the psychedelic sector. We're learning, we're seeing more stuff. There's not addictive. You know, they're saying, I'm not making the medical claim. It's just stuff I've read, but it's like
I've never felt a craving to do it again after doing it. Never in my life.
Yeah, if anything, it's just like that enlightening experience, and you're good for a while, and then maybe you go in again. You know, learn a little bit more about yourself.
That's what you got planned for the weekend.
What would you do, Anthony, if your daughter Sorry,
when the last Tragically Hip concert at the ACC with Gord Downey, my wife and I, and she took him to, she's gonna kill me, but it made that concert just absolutely mind blowing. And then, you know what, we went to Cirque du Soleil before on shrooms as well. And then when you're done, you walk out, you leave out, and you're fine. You go home and everything's done, and it's just gone. It's just perfect timing to go to a show and enhance the performance.
Describe to me what it was like knowing it was one of Gord's last concerts, and you being so, I would imagine, in touch with the energy and
Yeah, well, it was the soundtrack of our lives growing up. The hip was in university right till now. The hip's just been a part of our. It's in the background. If there was a DVD of a soundtrack of your life, if your life was a movie, it's gonna have some hip songs, buddy.
But was that I mean, being on shrooms and watching him, and was it more powerful than it's ever
Well,
been?
there was the part where he's singing near the end, and he does this in the song. He's screaming. He's singing really hard and really loud, and he does these screams like he's singing, but it transfers over to like a scream, and you see it in his face, and I go, oh my god, he's letting it out. He's letting out the frustration of why the fuck am I dying? This is bullshit, and he just channeled it in that song. And I saw about 3 shots of that legit fucking terror he was feeling in pain, and I don't know if I would have caught that the same way I caught it. About boom, just saw that. Holy shit, may have missed that. Most likely I would have missed that.
Yeah, being able to detect the emotion within it, it does connects you to others. I mean, that's really what it does. That's amazing that you said.
It does.
What a nice way. What a nice way to feel his pain. It's I don't want to sound like an oxymoron here, but like it's a nice
Yeah,
way to
no,
feel
yeah.
his pain.
My
It's
wife got me the
emotional.
tickets, and it was such a good gift, man. We had a wicked time. Oh, so check this out. I go to the bathroom, and I have to go pee, right? And a Head by a Century comes on, and I started going, no, it's my goddamn favorite song. And I'm running. I stopped. There's about to get 2 beers, obviously. And the guy then he didn't take debit or something. I had to go digging through cash, and the song's playing, and I'm high on shrooms. But we got back and caught the end of it. But it was just a little fried there. The song was running out. The time of the clock was ticking.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that. I mean, and you probably probably felt it was probably somehow either accelerated or slowed down, but you were more like it was more dire. Like you had to get to the end of that, so you had to make sure you got there. I mean, that would be a fun experience.
I think the guy selling the beer got a kick out of it anyway.
Hey, silly question. You have a daughter who's 25 and training to become a professional wrestler too, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Correct? Which is, what would you prefer? I don't know if you'd prefer one or the other, but she comes home one night and she's either super drunk, super high on cannabis, or just super kind of tripped out on mushrooms. Would you have one that might be a preference?
Well, definitely not alcohol. Fuck that.
Yeah.
She came home. I've seen my daughter come home with red eyes, and I've seen her high. I can't remember if I've seen her on shrooms, but no, I've had a conversation with my daughter when she was in high school and asking me about drugs and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, obviously don't do hard drugs, cocaine, heroin, crack. That's a no-brainer. Meth, like that's, we shouldn't even really need that conversation. But there's going to be things that, alcohol, be very careful because you are no longer in control of your own safety. When you get wasted, you're downtown, you're fucking wasted. You heads or tails, buddy, if you're going to make it. I mean, it depends if you get lost with your friends and your shit-faced puking, like it's not good. And I said, and shrooms is, this is what's going to happen. And I'll be honest, even I said, they're not that bad. When I was in university one time, we took a course talking about the pros and cons of drugs. This is in university. And when it came to shrooms, it said the effects, mind expanded. And I go, what about the negative effects?
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Nothing. And I'm like, wow, this professor put that out there.
That's interesting. And the reason why I ask is because my kids are so little, like much like your newest one. And I look at parents who no worries, just knocked the phone over there a bit, but I look at parents who connect with their older kids who are of legal age to do whatever is legal, and I guess to some extent sometimes illegal, which most people in the world, if you're doing mushrooms, even a microdose fashion, it is illegal for most of you. And I go, wouldn't that be a really neat point to be at as a parent where you can communicate with your older children understand what it is that you're doing, not hide from that, you know, which we might have done when we were kids with our parents, because things weren't as open and weren't as, you know, we were too
Oh
afraid
yeah.
to disclose, you know, a crazy night out. And to me, like, I keep thinking that, and maybe I'll be an old cat and change my mind by then, but you know, when my kid's older, which you're just going through, like, I would love to embrace it and find out more and ask them about their experience and what did you like or not like, and maybe even help, because they're always going to do it, is what I think. So why not help guide
Yeah.
them through the best experiences?
I would have a fun, because my daughter and I, we still go on daddy daughter days and do stuff, right? I would go to Cirque du Soleil with her on shrooms. That'd be funny, because she's an adult. She's 25, right? But yeah, you know, I never really thought it'd be cool that, you know, when I smoke a joint with my daughter. I didn't look forward to that.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's sort of interesting. I think it would be a neat place to be. I would love to one day to talk to parents who maybe got you know, had a good time on some sort of mushrooms or some sort of
Hippies.
psilocybin based product. Yeah, and maybe not even hippies. Maybe it's just you know, a regular everyday business person who said, you know, my son or daughter wanted to have a great night with me, and we connected in a certain way, because there's, you know, this is what COVID did for me anyway.
Yeah,
Which is, it made me really appreciate my parents. While I wasn't seeing them as much, I was worried for them. You know, I wasn't as worried for myself. The more I learned, I was paranoid at first, and then the more I learned, I'm like, okay, the chances are that, you know, people under kind of like 70, you know, really seem to have a better opportunity to survive it, at least. The statistics show it's for older. So it made me really, you know, think about life, think about them, and want to be, you know, close to them, even though I couldn't be, but want to check in on them every day, which I did do and still
yeah,
do. And you know, really appreciate, and I didn't have the best childhood in the world, but just appreciate what they've been through too. And to me, that's like, I think of like family therapy. Wouldn't it be great to do older in life, like family therapy with
oh
mushrooms?
my God,
Would
I'd
that be,
love to do it with
you
my
know,
dad.
wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, you know what? My dad has Parkinson's. I wonder if it would help with the wiring, you know? Who knows? It could be something positive. Imagine that. Your dad's only okay when he's on shrooms.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't, and you know, who, I don't know what kind of studies, but I wouldn't be surprised if there will be
I would
studies like that
either.
one day.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Hey, dude, you went through something really tough. A couple weeks ago, one of your buddies died. Um,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
yeah, Shad, and how? Sorry to bring it up, but you know, you're a real guy, so I figured I'd ask you, like, like, how did you know him? Through, obviously through wrestling, and you know, how did that? How are you doing now? And but you know, was
Yeah, I know it's I mean, you know, every other day you're like, what the hell? Like, is this a joke, man? Um, but yeah, I mean, it's sinking in now a little bit. Just talking to, I met him in '05, and he was a big young kid. When I got to OVW, I was 31 years old, um, and just learning the WWE style at 31. I had only been wrestling a couple of years. Anyway, Shad was like a big 25-year-old kid, and right away he's like, because we all lived in Louisville, Kentucky, and he's like, you know, if you want to go out, come out with us. We'll show you a good time. And he was just always welcoming, always giving me advice. He helped me get one of my first matches. Um, so there's the contracted WWE talent, and they have to go do these live events. And then there's the guys in the school that are not contracted. They go to the live events hoping for a spot to show up, you know, and get experience. And Shad helped me get a match and get experience. He kind of vouched for me and had a match with me himself. And he's just always like, this is the kid. He wrote a script, and it was getting a lot of buzz, like a really good show idea about a wrestler. He had all the characters. Anyway, and of course he goes, you know, if the show gets picked up, you know, all the boys got roles, right? You know what I mean? Like, I'm hooking up all the boys, right? And he's just that guy. He's always been that guy. And yeah, he stopped an armed robbery 2 years ago. Like, he's super Shad, man. He was 6'7", like 265. He was a beast, man.
When you hear of a friend, you know, who is that, I would imagine kind and giving, but also I guess you're describing him as like invincible, right? Like that's what it feels like, you know, with
Yeah.
his strength and his personality, and you know, does it make you rethink everything and just how precious life is?
Yeah, I lost my brother a year and a half ago, so I've been thinking like that already, you know. And I always live every day to its fullest, and I'm always pointing out to everybody like, hey man, the clock is ticking. Let that shit go. We got the stuff to do, man. It's fun to have. You better enjoy every single second. Like almost try and enjoy your life with a sense of urgency because it is. This is it, man. You better have fun now. You know, obviously you have to still think about tomorrow, and you can't just live completely in the spur of the moment. You have to, you know, be responsible, but you got to just figure out a way to take it nice and light and easy. You know,
One thing, yeah, and by the way, sorry, I don't think I knew about your brother. I'm so sorry, man. A tough year and a half for you. And
yeah, it was
you,
when my son was born. Crazy.
oh my God. Do you mind if I asked how did he die?
Surgery complications. He had heart surgery, and it was a second surgery, so there was a lot of bleeding. So they gave him blood things to make his blood clot, and then there was a blood clot that went to basically his lung and his brain, and he had a stroke in the hospital, and he was brain dead. Yeah, so out of nowhere, man, out of nowhere. Like, yeah. But I tell you what, actually, sitting where I'm sitting right now, I'm in my back porch, and so we knew he had, because he woke up after the surgery. Woke up. This is like a day later, right? So I went to see him and everything. He thought it was funny because he was on fentanyl. He was on the fentanyl drip. He's like, hey, check it out, man, fentanyl. And so that night his heart stopped, and they kind of had to induce him in a coma and just kind of figure out what's going on. At that point, that was he died, but we didn't know. We just thought he was in a coma for the time being. And I'm sitting here in my backyard, and all of a sudden, from about a foot away from my head, I hear the sound. It came from here. The speaker would have been here. It just went, hey. And I jumped and I looked around. I go, what? Hello? And what the fuck did that? That just came from like a foot away. This is where the person's lips were. And I looked at my watch. And I'm like, if I find out that he just passed, that's trippy. And he had passed before that. So he made everybody aware one by one that he's clearly one by one. Hey, my spirit's still here. It's crazy.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
But you still have
emotional.
to obviously live every day to its fullest. You can't bank on the fact that there's life after death.
No, fair enough. But I mean, um, it's a really nice, you know, I've always known you, and we've known each other now for 3-4 years, and you used to always pop on my old show, and we did a comedy thing together, and I've always just sort of admired you. I mean, like one thing, you know, people don't realize is like, you know, you used to on a regular basis, like go out in front of 20, 25, 30, 35,000 people, like that rush, that adrenaline. And, you know, you're so humble. Like, you know, you even had an old bit with Donald Trump in the day when he used to do WWE.
Yeah, he fired his sister.
He fired your sister.
But my sister was me dressed up as a girl.
Yes. But what I was going to say is you've always been so inspirational because you're such a real guy with these sort of out of the ordinary, you know, life experiences that most don't get to live or see. And you know, the inspiration you speak about you know, the tragic passing of your brother and a good friend of yours, and about living life, to me, it's I look at this world right now, and it's a tough, interesting place right now, and the divide, and it's scary. And I don't want to, you know, try to.
I don't want to believe how we live.
Yeah, and what I don't want to like take away from anyone's struggle or anyone's thing, but I just hope at the end of it all, we can figure out a way to live, like you're saying, life to its fullest, even with tragedy.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important message. And man,
This
do I
COVID
want.
has been
Sorry.
amazing. This COVID thing has been an actual. I wrote an article on it now. post it when I'm done about how this coronavirus was an absolute godsend and saved many aspects of my life. Um, I was chronically burnt out. I would do appearances on the weekends. I would coach throughout the week. I go to tournaments on the weekends. I newborn. I'm up 16-hour days, and and I'm just getting just enough rest to get up and keep going. Just enough rest to get up and keep going. But I'm not really smashing home runs, man. I'm just making contact. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, when we were at home, and somewhere around the 2-week mark, I'm like, okay, I needed that goddamn breather, man. Entrepreneurial fatigue is a real thing. And entrepreneurial depression is a real thing too. There's so much pressure, man. Your business becomes it's in your head 24/7. And I got athletes calling me at home and texting me, and I have to prove creative. And we're booking shows. We got a show next week. Just constantly. So anyway, this break was amazing for me. And even my wife and I are getting along way better since this has happened. We get to just have fun. It's like we're on vacation.
Man, I'm really happy to hear that as well, and that similar experiences for us. Meaning we moved from like the heart of the city, a big city in Toronto, came up north, been way more connected to my 2 small children than I'd ever be. Wife and I, it's not always perfect, but getting along and really appreciating each other. And back to what I said earlier about seeing my kid in nature and all these things I wouldn't have done. And I'm still a worker, and I like to work hard, but I hope that people can it's a reset is what it is. Let's face it, it's a reset. Let's relate it back to it. It's like we did a big dose here, and we have a reset.
Yeah, and there's going to be people that go back to work and say, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna, because then you hear people saying, you know what? Let's work 4 days a week, man. Like, that's a great start, to be honest. What the hell do we need to do? Everything's goddamn automated anyway. Self checkouts, and I mean, God. A lot of people are going to realize that you don't live to work. You work so you can live. And like in Europe, they kind of don't have the crazy work schedules like we have. Hopefully, that's one thing people take away from this, and they really like. I reconnected with TV. I watched Game of Thrones in 1 month, all 8 seasons, and I never watched it before.
Was it good? Did you enjoy it?
It was great. I'm happy I'm done it, because it was like a responsibility. I had to get through
it. Yeah, it's a commitment. I had trouble understanding it, is the truth, but I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. No, I don't want to get political here, because it is supposed to be like a enlightening, fun, psychedelic podcast, but I imagine you have a lot of American friends. Do you?
Yeah.
Will America figure stuff out? Or they, you see these, these protests and these riots, and rightly so, they have to take.
The problem is people that are in power in the States, they're in their goddamn 70s.
Oh, interesting.
Like 70s and 30s, these are old men, man. These guys are, when they're gone, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but I believe it's our generation next. We're in the queue. We're the guys that got neck tattoos and legalized weed. Like, when we're in charge, shit's going to be, hey, these old guys got to go, man.
They really do. There should be an age limit on that. Like, if you're around when
it's not the age, it's the time they come from.
Yes, it's a generational thing.
CIA shit and Gulf Wars and all that nonsense.
Oh, I mean, listen, the people lived around when World War II was happening. They were, exterminating Jewish people. Like these
75 years ago. That's not long ago, man.
You're right. There should be like an age requirement when the society advances to which we're doing, and we've done, at least on a younger level, I believe. We've connected and we're diverse, and maybe I'm speaking more to Toronto than others, because I don't really understand what what goes on in the States, and I do come from privilege, obviously, and can't ever understand the true struggles that I'm learning and realizing and reading and everything. But you're right. There should be an age limit that if for some reason you could have ever potentially hated one race or one sex or one religion or whatever. It's like, well, if you're from that generation where it was prominent, well, you don't qualify now.
Yeah, yeah. This is, yeah, absolutely. And I know people, I think this is the time it's actually going to happen. There's going to be change. We're one love, man. I think that people all over the world, and it's because social media has been around long enough that there's, and it's so popular that there's an alternative source of information that's maybe bigger than the news. People get all their news online, right? So, and the online allows for some raw truth as opposed to produced content. You know what I mean? And there's definitely a narrative on TV that they want you to follow. And then we get the alternative versions, and that wasn't available before. So I think people are really saying, like, okay, for example, when I turn on the news, I don't turn on the news to say, I want to see what's going on today. I turn on the news to say, I want to see what they're going to say is going on today. You know?
Yeah, I know, right? Like, it's just a narrative. It's really,
Yeah.
you can, anyone
Do it.
can, yeah,
Lie to
anyone
you.
with any reach can just choose a narrative. I used to have a joke that in life everything is wrestling. It almost feels like it's scripted. Like you got to create heels and you got
No,
to create
100%.
heroes, and
I believe this pandemic 1,000% is not naturally occurring from a guy eating a bat.
dude, listen, I don't. I'm always careful what I say now,
They're
but
making fun of us by telling us a story that a guy ate a bat. It's a slap in the face. It's like they'll believe anything. Watch this.
yeah, guy in a bat. Now that's where it all came from. Yeah.
Well, I guess
Meanwhile, WHO puts out a report now that you can't really get it from anyone who's asymptomatic, and yet that was the biggest fear. And it's like, what is going? Like, what was the plan? What was the conspiracy here? Because it feels like it's something. And was it just to create?
I think it's yet to be seen. I think there's going to be an economic collapse in how many months are we in? 3? In about 3 months, when everyone has to start paying their mortgage again, I think shit's going to hit the fan, because a lot of people deferred their mortgage. That's what I heard. And then people are going to lose their homes and shit. And that's pretty bad.
It's really scary. And
even us, like, our gym is surviving, right? Because we're closed, but we have to pay off the rent when we reopen, right? So we don't know yet if we're going to be able to do that, because the damage isn't even done yet. But, we'll reopen and try and get back up to speed as fast as possible, because the bills are at full speed. Your business has to get up to speed. And in the meantime, you're losing money, man.
Scary place, man. A whole new world. And with your young one, and I think of my young one, I just hope that they can, at some point when the world opens up, they can get back to connecting with friends, because I don't want humans to ever lose human interaction. And there's so much of this Zoom and so much of these interesting
sports. That's
ways
why
of
in sports.
Yeah, sports, exactly. And that's where you learn from different people, and that's where you learn to be, work as a group, and that's where you learn to communicate very well with not necessarily even words, sometimes with just motions or head nods and all this little type of stuff. And I hope we don't get away from that. I hope we find a way to, it sounds so corny, man, but it's one love, it's coming together, and it's figuring stuff out. And I can't even imagine. The world is it's so sad right now, and I don't understand why the fuck we can't figure it out. I really don't get that.
Sometimes when I'm driving, I just like, fuck, man, I reject this. I don't want this civilization like this anymore. It's so stupid. People just saying negative shit until, like, I don't know, why is everyone so goddamn angry and violent? Well, I mean, we need like that Buddhist, peaceful Gandhi stuff, like, for real, peace and love. Burt Bacharach said it a long time ago, like, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's man. And but we're also the generation that went to raves and took ecstasy. So yeah. we were all about the love.
Yeah, I mean, listen. First off, great impression. Who knew that the Milan Miracle could sing so well. And I hate to sound corny, but because it is the Psychedelic podcast, man, I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of research and development, a lot of scientific proof. One day, I think anyway, I think, I can't make the claims, that's going to say that this drug can help people that way. I honestly think that's where it's going. It's,
Yeah.
it's, it
At the very least,
yeah.
It's a safe recreational drug. Never mind all the medical benefits. There's so many, but as a safe alternative to not damage your body, if you have ever done shrooms, the next day there is zero hangover. You get up and you start your day 1000% like you normally do. You can go to the gym. You can do whatever you want. Especially if you do it when you're camping. You got big hikes and canoe trips. You got to be alert. But you can't say that for alcohol. You drink, you're messed up for days. You do any other, even pot. You know, if you smoke too late at night, like an indica-based joint, you'll have a hard time getting up in the morning.
Yeah, a little lethargy, you know, being lethargic.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yep.
But zero with shrooms. Zero, zero, zero.
Yeah, I'm so excited for all these studies going on to help try and prove this stuff out. And One Love, man, it's almost like the podcast should be called One Love, because that's all we're trying to do here, trying to achieve, and hopefully we're able to do that, man. I'm so thankful for your time. It's sort of, we're recording this a little bit later than we had scheduled, and you're one of the realest dudes, man. And I can't wait for your gym to get back going and your matches to get back going, and you know, you just doing your thing, which is you're teaching so many people. You're bringing life to them.
My students, man.
Yeah, you must miss them.
Yeah, that's the thing too, man. This reopening and some of the protocols put in place for like a boxing gym to reopen, it's ridiculous. Like ridiculous. Like spray you down on the way in. You have to train in your mask. You have to stand in the box. It's like, no thanks.
Yeah, let's just get in there and slug it out. You know what I mean? Like little sweat bounces on each other. That's what happens.
It's up to the media to obviously change the narrative again and make people feel confident. And if they came out of the news for 3 days straight and said it's gone, it's 100% safe, for 3 days in a row, people would absolutely be 100% comfortable again.
Yeah, and the one thing that, and I've learned this from a couple other people, so it's not my original thought, because I was one of the paranoid ones, but you know, and not to take away anything from those who have died from it, especially, you know, it's sort of, you know, just gone completely wiped out, you know, some senior care homes and stuff like that.
Crazy.
But the numbers in the testing, and I don't know, I hate getting political, but the numbers in the testing are like, don't show how many people actually have had this, but the death rate stays the same. And I don't want to take anything away from those who've died, but if it meant that 10 times the amount of people had it, maybe even 100 times the amount of people had it, and the death rate stayed the same, I don't think people would fear. At least they would still be cautious at risk, and especially, you know, be careful around seniors and their parents and things like this. But I think people would want to open up and live their life a little more. I really believe that. And they have livelihoods, they have careers, they have to provide for wives, for husbands, children.
Yeah,
and
it's better to overreact than underreact if you have to pick one, right? And this is the first time in 100 years there's been a pandemic, so nobody knew. And you know, in the beginning, they're calling people experts. How can you be an expert in something you ever lived through? And then now they're changing all their stories, you know, with the contact, and now you can get it through the air.
Yeah. It's like something like, I don't know, like a new animal just showed up on my, no one has ever seen it before, just happened to show up on my balcony because I was the first to see that. Well, I'm an expert now. Like, look at that animal over there. I discovered it. I know it's.
I know you can study epidemiology. It's kind of like my geography degree, probably.
Oh man.
But yeah, but it's all speculation, and until the real thing happens, you can make an estimation of what's going to happen. But everyone's estimation was completely wrong. They were saying in the beginning 30 to 70% of the people are going to get it on the planet, and there's going to be all, like, they were way off, way off. And I know it was obviously a dangerous virus, but but this is the thing, you can say those numbers are way off because they took action too. So they got very clever team behind them, whoever came up with this gimmick.
Well, I hope things get back to normal, as they always say, although normal doesn't seem to be very good anymore either. So we're lost. Let's just spread love. Let's spread positivity. Let's think positive. Let's treat everyone fairly. and you know, let's start with that. How about that? And then in my case, you know, if you can do this legally or test it or whatever, let's bring psychedelics to the world. Okay, let's figure out a way to do that too.
Yeah, and that was one good thing about COVID. It put everybody on a level playing field, man. Everyone's susceptible. We're all human beings, regardless of where you're from. And, so kind of, you know, showed everybody we're in this shit together.
Yeah, it was like Independence Day, just it wasn't aliens, it was a disease, you know, and we wanted to work together. I'm serious. Let's do that
It was
more.
a virus that an evil alien invader deployed on Earth.
Well, listen, man, I'm so happy to have talked to you. Thank you so much for doing this for our second psychedelic podcast, which is more than just psychedelics, but we're getting deep here. And you're an amazing guy. Thank you so much to Santino Marella, Anthony Carelli, Milan Miracle, and is it just Milan Miracle on Twitter?
It's just Milan Miracle. Yeah.
All right, which is huge. You got a huge following.
Can I change the name one day? Or but did you lose all your people or something?
You lose a check, but who cares about the blue check? Like, because I wanted to change my name too, and then you lose your blue check if you do it. And I was thinking, like, because I hate my old name, right? It was an old radio name, and I don't know. And then I'm like, and that's my own ego. Like, why do I care if I have a blue check? But I'm holding on to that in a weird egotistical way that I don't want to lose it, but I also don't want my name. Isn't that pathetic? 46, 47 years old, and I'm still concerned about that perception of a blue check.
Yeah, but you're also concerned about the financial ramifications of a blue check if there's a potential sponsor that's not going to sponsor because of a blue check. Like the actual, you don't give a shit about a blue check, but
you're right. You're right. It's a weird, again, this is stupid. You know what? I should just change my name, get rid of it. I don't have the balls. I'm talking.
You take your goddamn blue check and shove it up your ass.
Thanks for your time, dude. Be well, okay?
Take it easy, buddy.
Okay, you're amazing. Thanks, man.